I don't I I don't know how to intro this one. So let's just talk about it. Harold and Maude. So for the year-long commissioned reviews of 70s and 80s movies, we're about to hit and start hitting the 80s stuff. I was allowed free reign for the last one for the 70s. I got to pick. So I went with this. Now I'd seen Harold and Maude before. I'd seen it, I think, in my teens, and I thought it was okay. I didn't really appreciate it though. I didn't fully get it. I think I kind of got it. I didn't fully get it though. I like it better this time. How does one explain this movie to anyone who hasn't seen it? Um, okay. So we have Harold, who I don't like. He's out of school. I know the actor Bud Cort. I think he was 23 when this was made. Harold he's young. He's young. He's privileged. He lives with his wealthy mother, and his mother. Look up should never have kids in the dictionary, and there will be a picture of his mother. Uh, like not like an actively horrible abusive, but just like you. Why did you have kids? Like what? How did this happen? You don't seem like you wanted this, and you're real bad at it. And it is worth keeping in mind. This is a comedy, and it is funny. It is a dark comedy, but it is a comedy. And Harold is, let's go with chronically morbid. He has taken up the, I guess, pastime of faking suicides. And it's happened often enough that his mother doesn't react most of the time. Like the opening shot of the film is this, it's actually an impressively long, unbroken shot. And you don't see Harold's head for most of it. You just see this young man walk in, like, write out a letter, put it in an envelope, pin it to his shirt, and go and light a candle and go and step up onto the stool and kick the stool, and then but the feet hang there because he appeared to have hanged himself. And then his mother comes strolling and sees him up there and is like, and she just keeps talking at him and is like, dinner is served soon, and Harold's like, and just frustrated, and she just swims past him when he's laying face down in the pool. I think the only one she actually kind of reacted to was where he appeared to have slit either his wrist or his throat in the tub, and I think that was just because there was fake blood everywhere, and she was just annoyed at the mess. So that's Harold. The most joy he seems to get is by attending funerals. Not of people he knew. He didn't know any of these people, but he goes to them. I guess in another way, it's a little bit reminiscent of the narrator in Fight Club going to the support groups for conditions he didn't have just to kind of feel something. Uh, Boy, has anybody compared those two movies before? I don't think the comparison is worth making anywhere beyond that. But at one of these funerals, he meets Maude. Now, Maude is 79 years old, turning 80 soon, and she, honestly, I don't think Maude is properly appreciated as a top-tier Manic Pixie Dream Girl. Yeah, 79-year-old Manic Pixie Dream Girl. She is amazing. When she spots him at like the second funeral that they're both at, she just goes up to him and offers him licorice. And when she gets out, she says bye to him, gets in this car and drives off. It's not her car. It's the priest's car. She just took it. And then and then later she goes to pick up Harold in this hearse because, yeah, Harold drives a hearse. And she's like, hey, you want to get in? And he gets in and she drives off. She didn't know it was his car. She knew it wasn't her car. She didn't care. She just took it. And then he's in the car and she's like, do you want me to drop you off at your place? Actually, this is my car. Oh, you can drop me off at my place. And she is bright and lively and, yes, quirky, but in a way that feels very earned. In an odd way, like, let's not kid ourselves. The Manic Pixie Dream Girl thing can be exhausting. There's something about her being this way at nearly 80 years old that gives it a different feel and a different flavor. Because a lot of times the Manic Pixie Dream Girl thing, especially if you're talking about somebody in their 20s or 30s, it can feel like somebody refusing to grow up. It can feel like somebody who has not had real problems, who just is flitting through life because they've never had real consequences. That's not Maude. We actually, in something that I hadn't caught before, and I don't even know if I want to say specifically what it is, but there was a very brief visual detail that makes it very clear she has had harsh times in her life. Absolutely. And she's gone through stuff, and she is like this, not because she's never faced consequences, but because she's been alive long enough to realize that regardless of consequences, this is how she wants to live. This is the level of energy and vivaciousness and embrace of love and life that she wants for herself when she doesn't have a lot of time left. And it just gives it a different feel, even though if you were to just to chart out her behavior, it's almost classic Manic Pixie Dream Girl, but it has a different feel to it, knowing that it's not just somebody who's never had to deal with consequences. It's not just somebody who's young enough to think that quirky can be an entire personality. She wasn't just like this and never grew up. She chose to be this after a lengthy life. And that does make a difference. And we get to see the bonding between her and Harold, which is really beautiful. It's another thing worth mentioning. Like, it is legitimately a romantic and even, to a certain degree, a sexual interest. And I've called out my discomfort with age gap relationships before. And the thing is, I've made this point before. When you talk about age gaps, it's generally, assuming both people are adults, generally speaking, it's not the raw difference in age that's the problem. It's the difference in experience and the power dynamic that results from that. So, like, if we're talking about, say, a 20-year age gap, then we are talking about, somebody who has... then we could be talking about somebody in their 60s and somebody in their 40s. And that, I don't think, is that problematic, because they have both had a decent chunk of time living an adult existence and having adult experiences. And while one of them has had more of them just by sheer volume, they have been living to some degree of comparable lives and have enough experience in their own life, ideally, I mean, it varies from person to person, but generally, that they can kind of be on even footing. But when a 40-year-old dates a 20-something, especially a young 20-something, then you're usually talking about somebody who has been living an adult life for a long time versus somebody who has only barely begun to live an adult existence and build adult relationships as opposed to school or college relationships. And it creates a gap in experience that is not automatically abusive, but is abusable. And you'd think, given that an age gap between a 79-year-old and a 20-year-old, we're talking a 50-year plus age gap, that should be completely untenable. The movie sells it, though, because, well, the main thing is that Maude is just kind of existing. Harold is very much drawn to her. Now, she's reciprocal, but she never feels predatory. She never feels like she's seeking him out. And while he does live a pampered existence, she doesn't have a degree of power over him, because she's not really living a standard adult existence either. Like, she clearly has at some point in her life. But at this point, like, she is living a fairly detached from reality life, similar to him. Now, his is because of wealth and privilege, and hers is just by choice. She lives a very quirky, odd life. She has turned an abandoned train car into a home. And she steals people's cars and doesn't have her own. Doesn't even have a license. And she just does it because, yeah, why not? Like, neither of them are living in reality. They're just living in different versions of of a very out of touch world. The difference is Harold's trapped in his, and Maude built hers. And it manages to walk a really fine line with making clear the connection between them. It doesn't feel predatory or like something that is being, or even really could be, abused. That's my take. Other people might be kind of squicked by it, but I honestly think this might stand as my exemplar of, you want to know how to make an age gap relationship work, watch this. And like, oddly, if Maude had been younger, if she had been, 59 turning 60, I don't think I'd feel this way. Something about just the size of the gap. It is such a large gap. It almost kind of breaks the rubric that you would normally think for how to kind of judge these things. Now, I haven't really talked spoilers so far. I want to talk a little about spoilers. And so if you've never seen this film, I do recommend it. It is a strange, quirky, adorable, kind of dark, romantic little movie. And I'm really glad I revisited this one. So, spoilers. The eventual realization that Maude is going to remove herself from life on her 80th birthday. She basically told Harold the first time they actually talked, because they're at this funeral, that I heard he was 80. 80 is a good age to go. She meant that. This is part of how she has lived her life, and she can live with this fearlessness because she knows that she gets to leave on her own terms. And she has decided already when. I think it's another way that helps it feel less predatory is because it really is a matter of Harold gets a little sliver of time. He stumbled into her life at a point where they really could build a connection, but he's just there for the very end of it. She didn't seek him out. He wasn't, something on a bucket list. They just happened to align, and she doesn't reshape her life around him. She does what she always planned to do. And Harold is left to grieve. And at the very end, we see him appear to drive his car off a cliff. And I knew because I've seen it before, but you can't help but wonder, did he actually do it that time? Because, it's not, oh, poor little rich boy pain now. It's real pain. It's real loss. Can he cope? Yeah. Yeah, he can. Because Maude helped him. Helped him see that for all the obsession he had with death, there's so much life and so much living to do. Even from a woman who voluntarily didn't plan on doing much more of it by the time he met her. This thing walks such a tightrope. Like, the more I think about it, like, especially on paper, what it is and what it does and what happens, like, this shouldn't work. This shouldn't work at all, but it does. Oh, the soundtrack works oddly too. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Cat Stevens, and it feels like a very 70s thing. I guess a little bit tail end of the 60s too with stuff like The Graduate, but it feels like a very 70s thing, like to have a soundtrack for a movie be nothing but songs from this one artist. And they do that with Cat Stevens in this. And Cat Stevens, I can kind of, whatever. It works here. It fits the mood. So yeah. I was really glad that I watched this again. Harold and Maude. You ever seen this one? What'd you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon was how I was commissioned to review this. Even if you don't want to commission me, there's plenty of tiers to support me at, and there's benefits for every single tier. At bare minimum, you get early access to the main channel videos, and you get a look at my docket in advance. But even if you can't help me out that way, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff, it helps too. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break. And now it's time to thank my highest supporting patrons. Robin Moore, Quite Bearish, Zubin Lutfula, Auntie Kate 808, Mira G, Angry Casper, Dave Hall, Andre, Movie Turtle, Oliver B, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Melissa Pedersen, Mary Mello, Iron, Becky Sparks, Loki Eris, Tracy Scrabbit, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. We have a new little guy here under my hair. That's Satyr. So yes, he can now join in the distraction chorus as I try to read names. Thanks, guys. Welcome to the family.